The ship moved silently through the empty reaches of space. Its surface was scratched from battles long past, but its engine still worked with steady rhythm. Inside the small cockpit, a human soldier named Rallan sat at the controls. His uniform was worn, his armor dented, and his face carried the marks of many campaigns. He was not a decorated hero, nor a high-ranking officer. He was a scout, sent where others refused to go. The mission he had been given was simple on paper. A dying star system had been discovered on the edge of known space. In that system stood a massive fortress, older than human history, built by hands that no one fully understood. For decades it had drifted untouched, because stories surrounded it. Alien travelers spoke of curses. Human commanders dismissed the tales as superstition. Still, when ships entered the system, they often failed to return. Now the command had ordered Rallan to investigate. Perhaps it was because he had survived many dangerous postings. Perhaps it was because no one else wanted the task. Whatever the reason, he obeyed. The fortress came into view as his ship slid past the light of the dying sun. It was vast, carved into the side of a barren world. Its towers rose like broken teeth, jagged and dark. The walls seemed to hum with a faint energy, as though the structure itself was alive. Rallan guided the ship to a landing pad that looked unused for centuries. Dust and fragments of rock shifted under the pressure of his landing gear. He shut down the engines, strapped his rifle across his back, and stepped into the silent air of the ancient world. His boots left prints in a layer of ash that had rested there for generations. Inside the fortress, the air was heavy and still. Stone corridors stretched in every direction, each wall covered in carvings that glowed faintly. The symbols were written in a language no human had ever recorded. Some seemed like warnings. Others looked like prayers. Rallan moved slowly, his rifle ready, though no sound disturbed him except the echo of his own steps. The deeper he walked, the stronger the energy grew. It felt like a vibration beneath his skin, as if the walls themselves breathed. He passed shattered statues, broken chains, and chambers filled with the remains of technology too advanced for him to understand. His mission recorder captured everything, sending the data back to human command. After an hour of exploring, he found a hall unlike the others. It was wide and tall, with a ceiling lost in shadows. At its center stood a sealed chamber made of black stone. Across its surface ran countless symbols, carved with care. Some glowed red, others blue, forming a pattern that looked like a lock. Rallan stopped. Something inside the chamber pulsed, slow and steady, like a heartbeat. The sound was faint but undeniable. His training told him to leave, to report the discovery and wait for a team of scientists. But curiosity pulled at him stronger than fear. He studied the lock, running his gloved fingers over the symbols. They shifted under his touch, as if alive. He pressed one, then another. To his surprise, the glowing marks responded to his movements, rearranging themselves like a puzzle. The fortress seemed to groan, its walls shaking slightly. Dust rained down from above. Still, he continued, convinced that he was opening a vault of forgotten technology. Perhaps inside was a weapon, or knowledge that could aid humanity. Perhaps this discovery would give his name a place in history. With one final press, the lock cracked open. The black stone split down the middle, releasing a hiss of cold air that washed over him. The heartbeat grew louder, echoing in his chest. Rallan stepped back, rifle raised. The chamber opened fully, and darkness poured out like smoke. At first he saw nothing, only shifting mist. Then the mist began to take shape. A figure rose from the heart of the darkness, tall and slender, with wings folded tight against her back. Her eyes glowed faint crimson, piercing the shadows. Her skin was pale, and her presence filled the hall with a weight that pressed down on Rallan's chest. For the first time in years of service, he felt true fear. This was no machine, no forgotten weapon. It was alive. The figure inhaled deeply, as though tasting the air for the first time in centuries. Her wings spread slightly, and the carvings on the walls flared with light, responding to her awakening. The air grew colder. Rallan's instincts screamed at him to fire. Yet his body refused to move. The figure turned her gaze toward him, and in that single look, he understood he had made a mistake. The fortress had not been built to protect what was inside. It had been built to keep her trapped. Her lips curved into a faint smile, as if she recognized him not as an enemy, but as the one who had freed her. She spoke, her voice carrying both beauty and menace. Though the words were alien, the meaning formed clear in his mind. "At last," she said. The sound echoed through the hall, shaking loose fragments of stone. Rallan tightened his grip on his rifle, but deep down he knew the weapon would not save him. The fortress walls that had stood for ages had failed, and the being they guarded was awake once more. The figure stood tall in the chamber, her wings unfurling slowly as if they remembered how to move after endless years of stillness. Dust swirled around her, caught in the chill wind that spread from her presence. Her crimson eyes glowed softly in the shadows, and her pale face reflected both grace and danger. Rallan kept his rifle raised, but his hands trembled. He had faced enemies before, from raiders to alien beasts, yet none had made him feel so powerless. This was different. This was not a creature of flesh and bone alone. This was something greater, something that carried centuries of silence and hunger. The fortress groaned again, as though the walls protested her release. Symbols across the chamber burned brighter, their lines shaking like they struggled to hold back the power now awake. The being lifted her head and took another deep breath. It sounded like the first breath of life after drowning. Her voice followed, low but clear, each word vibrating in the air. "I am Siraxa," she said, and though she spoke in an alien tongue, Rallan's mind understood the meaning as if she carved it directly into his thoughts. Her name felt heavy, like a memory long forgotten but buried deep in the bones of the galaxy. Rallan had never heard it before, yet when she spoke it, he felt the weight of stories untold. She stepped forward, her wings trailing shadows across the stone floor. Rallan aimed his rifle squarely at her chest. "Stay where you are," he said firmly, though his voice carried a hint of fear. Siraxa paused. Her crimson eyes studied him as though he were something rare, something that did not belong. "Human," she whispered, tasting the word with interest. "How strange that your kind has reached this place. When I was sealed, your people were nothing more than whispers of the future." Her words chilled him. If she had been sealed before humanity was known in the galaxy, then she had been imprisoned for thousands of years. "Do not come closer," Rallan repeated, his finger ready on the trigger. Instead of anger, she laughed. The sound was soft, like bells echoing in a dark cavern, but it carried danger within it. "You carry a weapon of iron and fire, yet you stand before me and still breathe. That is bold, little soldier." She tilted her head, watching him. "Did you break the seal with purpose, or was it only curiosity that freed me?" Rallan hesitated. He wanted to say he had meant to, that he had known what he was doing. But honesty cut through his thoughts. "I thought it was a vault," he admitted, his voice steady despite his fear. I thought it was a weapon left behind. I did not know what was inside. Siraxa smiled, but it was not a smile of kindness. It was the smile of someone who saw opportunity. Then you are both fool and gift, she said. You broke chains that even empires feared. You have awakened a queen. The words settled in the air. Rallan understood then she was not only powerful, she was royalty among her kind. What are you? He asked, trying to keep her talking, to gather information, to buy time for his mind to think of an escape. Siraxa spread her wings fully. They stretched wider than the hall, shadows bending unnaturally as though space itself curved around them. I am the queen of the starborn vampires, she declared. I am the ruler who drank from suns, the conqueror who bent galaxies. They feared me, so they locked me in this tomb. But their chains are broken, their guardians are dust, and their empires are long dead. Her words sent a cold shiver down Rallan's spine. He had heard of many alien species, but none like hers. To feed on suns sounded impossible, yet the energy in her presence made it believable. She stepped closer. Rallan raised his rifle higher, ready to fire if she moved another step. Siraxa noticed and stopped. Do you truly think your weapon can harm me? She asked, her tone calm. Maybe, Rallan said. His voice shook, but his finger stayed near the trigger. Her eyes glowed brighter for a moment, and she tilted her head again, studying him like one might study a puzzle. Then, to his surprise, she lowered her wings slightly, folding them against her back. I will not strike you, she said. Not yet. You interest me. No other being has stood against me with such fragile courage. You are small, but you are unyielding. That is rare. Rallan did not lower his rifle. Why were you locked away? He asked. Her expression darkened. The light of the carvings flickered as if reacting to her mood. Because I was strong, she said. Because the weak fear the strong. They called me monster. They called me destroyer. They betrayed me, joined together to bind me here. They thought their seal would last forever. But now I am free, and I will see what has become of the stars. Her voice carried pain beneath the pride, a memory of betrayal buried deep. For a moment, Rallan saw not just a queen of shadows but a being scarred by loss. Yet the hunger in her eyes remained. What will you do now? Rallan asked carefully. She looked past him, toward the broken doors of the chamber, as if she could already see beyond the fortress, beyond the planet, into the void of space. I will feed, she said simply. I will rise. And the stars will remember my name. The words echoed like a vow. Rallan felt the weight of what he had unleashed press heavily on his chest. He thought of the human colonies scattered across the galaxy, of the fleets already stretched thin. If she truly was what she claimed, then no army would be enough to stop her. Siraxa turned her gaze back to him. But you, she said, you are different. You freed me, and you stand before me without bowing. That deserves consideration. Tell me your name. Rallan hesitated, but lying felt pointless. Rallan, he said. Rallan, she repeated softly, as though testing the sound. A small name, but perhaps it will grow. You will guide me. You will show me this galaxy that has forgotten me. I am not your servant, Rallan said quickly. Her smile returned. Not servant, she replied. Companion. You will lead me, willingly or not. And in return, I will let you live. That is a gift, soldier. Rallan's stomach tightened. He wanted to refuse, to raise his rifle and fire, but something in her gaze stopped him. He knew the weapon would only anger her, and angering her would mean instant death. So he lowered the rifle, just slightly, though his hand stayed ready. "If I lead you," he said carefully, "then you must not harm me." "Agreed," Saraxa said, her wings folding tighter. "You are mine to protect, until I decide otherwise." The chamber fell silent. The ancient fortress seemed to sigh, as though accepting that its purpose had ended. The seal was broken, and the queen was awake. Rallan had unleashed something that should have remained forgotten. Now he was bound to her, whether he wished it or not. And as they stepped out of the chamber together, he knew the galaxy had just changed forever. The path out of the chamber stretched wide and silent. Broken pillars leaned against cracked walls, and faint light from the dying sun bled through gaps in the stone ceiling. Rallan walked with slow steps, his rifle lowered but still gripped tightly. Beside him, Saraxa moved with calm elegance, her pale figure glowing faintly in the dim light. Her wings brushed the air, leaving a trail of cold that raised the hair on his skin. Rallan's thoughts raced. He had freed something dangerous, something that claimed to be a queen of stars. If she was telling the truth, then every colony, every fleet, every life across the galaxy was in danger. Yet he could not fight her. He had seen enough to know his weapons were useless against her strength. Saraxa studied the fortress as they walked. "The halls remember me," she said softly. Her hand brushed a wall, and the carvings flared to life under her touch. "They sang when I walked these stones last. Now they tremble again." Rallan kept his voice steady. "You said you wanted me to guide you. Why? You have power. You could take what you want." She glanced at him, her crimson eyes glowing faintly. "Power is not enough when the world has changed," she replied. "I ruled an age of empires. I bent kings to my will. But I do not know what has become of the stars while I slept. You are my window into this age. Through you, I will see." Her words were calm, but they pressed heavy on Rallan. He realized she was not only dangerous for her strength, but for her mind. She thought like a ruler, always searching, always planning. At last they reached the landing pad where his ship rested. The old craft stood quiet, its metal sides reflecting the pale sun. Rallan paused, feeling her gaze on him. He knew what she expected. "This ship is mine," he said carefully. "It is small. It is weak. But it can take us away from here. If I agree to guide you, you must agree to leave me unharmed." Saraxa tilted her head. "You bargain with me?" "Yes," Rallan said firmly. His heart pounded, but he did not lower his eyes. "If you want me as a guide, then I must live. Promise me that." For a long moment, Saraxa studied him without speaking. Then her lips curved into a faint smile. "You are bold," she said. "Very well. I promise that you will live while you guide me. But do not mistake this mercy for weakness. If you betray me, Rallan, your life will end before your breath leaves your lips." Rallan nodded once. It was not safety, but it was something. He lowered the ramp of the ship, and together they entered. Inside, the lights flickered to life, revealing narrow halls and simple controls. The ship was built for one, yet now it carried two. Rallan moved quickly to the cockpit and slid into the pilot's seat. Saraxa followed, her presence filling the small space with unnatural weight. She sat with elegance, folding her wings carefully, though their edges still brushed the walls. The ship lifted off with a deep hum, rising above the fortress. Through the windows, Rallan saw the ruins spread out across the barren planet, vast and silent. The fortress looked smaller now, but its shadow stretched long across the ground, like a warning. As they broke through the thin atmosphere, stars filled the view. Siraxa leaned forward slightly, her crimson eyes reflecting the lights. She gazed at the stars as if they were old friends she had long forgotten. "So much has changed," she whispered. "The constellations are different. The suns burn weaker. Time has passed like a thief." Rallan set the course away from the dying system. His hands moved with practiced skill across the controls. But inside, his mind wrestled with fear and calculation. He needed a plan. He could not stop her with weapons, but maybe he could stall her, learn her weaknesses, and wait for a chance to warn command. Hours passed in silence as the ship drifted through the black sea of space. Finally, Siraxa spoke again. "Tell me, Rallan, how strong is your species? Do humans command the stars?" Rallan hesitated, then answered honestly. "We are strong, but not rulers. We have colonies across many worlds, fleets that guard the borders, and alliances with other species. But the galaxy is vast. There are powers greater than us." Siraxa's smile deepened. "Then the game remains. A galaxy of rivals, of kingdoms waiting to be bent." "Perfect." Her words unsettled him, but he did not respond. Instead, he changed the subject. "Why did they fear you? Why did they join together to lock you away?" Siraxa leaned back in the seat, her eyes narrowing slightly. "Because I was the strongest. My kind were born from the dark between suns. We fed on light, on life, on the very essence of stars. I built an empire that stretched across worlds. But those I trusted most betrayed me. They feared that my reign would never end. So they turned their armies against me, struck me down, and bound me in chains of stone and shadow. They swore I would never rise again." Her voice carried both pride and bitterness. Rallan listened carefully, storing each word. She was not only dangerous because of her hunger, but because of her history. She had been betrayed, and betrayal shaped rulers into sharper blades. "What will you do now?" Rallan asked. Her eyes fixed on him, glowing softly in the dim cockpit. "I will rebuild. I will drink deep of the stars. And I will remind the galaxy what it means to kneel before a queen." The silence that followed was heavy. Rallan's hand brushed the edge of his rifle where it rested by his seat. But he knew again that no single bullet could stop her. Still, a plan formed quietly in his mind. He would play along. He would be her guide, as she wished. But at every step, he would search for a way to signal command, to warn them of what was unleashed. "Then I will guide you," Rallan said finally. "But you must listen to me. The galaxy is not what it once was. If you rush in blindly, you will face fleets stronger than you expect. I can help you understand this new age." Siraxa considered his words for a moment. Then she nodded. "Very well. You will be my eyes in this age, Rallan. You will guide me, and in return, I will let you live. You have made your bargain, and I will honor it." Her tone was final. The bargain was sealed, whether he liked it or not. The ship drifted on, stars stretching across the view. Rallan sat in silence, staring into the dark. He had made his choice. Now he was bound to her, the Queen of Shadows. The stars stretched endlessly before them, shining like scattered fire in the black sea of space. Rallan's ship moved quietly, its old engines humming with a steady beat. In the cockpit, Rallan sat at the controls, his eyes fixed on the navigation screen. Beside him, Saraxa sat still, her crimson eyes fixed on the stars outside. For hours, she had spoken little. Her gaze drifted across the galaxy as though she were studying every sun and every shadow. But Rallan felt her presence, heavy and unshakable, as if the air itself bent to her will. The silence ended when Saraxa shifted in her seat. Her wings twitched slightly, and her pale hand gripped the armrest. "I feel it," she whispered. Rallan turned his head. "Feel what?" "The hunger," she replied, her voice low. "It grows. I have been locked in stone for countless years. My body endured, but the void left me empty. Now I must feed." The way she spoke the word feed made Rallan's chest tighten. He thought of the stories she had told, of suns drained of light and worlds left dark. If she fed as she claimed, then no system would be safe. "We are close to a star," Rallan said cautiously. "It is small and weak, but it burns still. If you need energy, you can take from it." Saraxa's eyes brightened faintly, and a cold smile touched her lips. "You offer me a star. Bold, soldier. Perhaps you are learning." Rallan guided the ship toward a lonely sun at the edge of the chart. It was an old star, swollen and dim, its light fading into deep red. No planets circled it, only broken rocks drifting like forgotten bones. When they drew near, Saraxa stood. The air in the ship grew colder, and shadows stretched across the walls. She stepped to the window and raised her hand slowly, her long fingers curling as if she held the star between them. Rallan watched in silence, his heart pounding. The star began to shiver. Its light dimmed, its surface rippling like disturbed water. Slowly, streams of energy stretched from it, reaching across the void toward Saraxa. They touched her pale skin, and the glow of her eyes flared brighter. She inhaled deeply, drawing the light into herself. The star screamed without sound, collapsing under her will. Within minutes, its glow vanished, leaving behind a cold shell of stone and gas. Darkness filled the space where its fire had once burned. Saraxa lowered her hands. Her wings stretched wide, shadows spilling across the cockpit. She breathed with strength renewed, her voice deeper, steadier. "Yes," she whispered. "The taste of starlight returns." Rallan stared at the blackened remains of the star. A single sun had been silenced, its light stolen forever. He felt both awe and dread. She truly was what she claimed, a queen who fed on suns. "You destroyed it," Rallan said quietly. "I consumed it," Saraxa corrected. "It was dying. Its end was near. I gave purpose to its last fire. Do not mourn a star, soldier. There are countless more." Rallan clenched his jaw. To her, stars were food. To him, they were life. Without stars, there were no worlds, no colonies, no future. Yet he could not challenge her, not now. As they moved away, signals began to flash on Rallan's console. Distress messages from nearby sectors. Observers had detected the sudden death of the star. The galaxy had noticed. "Others will come," Rallan warned. "If they see what you have done, they will not stay silent." Saraxa smiled faintly. "Let them come. They will learn who I am." Over the next days, the hunger grew stronger. She demanded more stars, more light. Each time, Rallan steered toward dying systems, choosing those with no colonies, no life. He hoped to slow her, to delay the moment she reached for suns with worlds around them. But news traveled fast. Fleets moved cautiously into the sectors she had touched. Rumors spread across channels, a shadow feeding on stars, a figure with wings of night. Commanders whispered the old stories, uncertain whether to believe. Inside the ship, Rallan watched Saraxa closely. Between her moments of hunger, she spoke with strange calmness, almost curiosity. She asked about human worlds, about alliances, about weapons. Rallan gave careful answers, enough to keep her satisfied, but never too much. He had begun sending secret signals, short bursts hidden in the ship's regular transmissions. He did not know if command had received them yet, but it was his only hope. One evening, as the ship drifted through silent space, Saraxa turned her gaze to him. "You fear me," she said softly. Rallan did not deny it. "Yes. Yet you stay," she continued. "You guide me. You speak to me as if I am not your end." "Why?" Rallan met her eyes. "Because I made a mistake. I freed you. If I cannot undo it, then at least I can try to guide what happens next. If I can stop you from destroying the wrong stars, maybe I can save lives." For a moment, her expression shifted, almost thoughtful. "Strange," she said. "So many before you begged, ran, or fell silent. Yet you stand, even knowing you cannot fight me. You carry fear, but you also carry will. That is rare." She leaned closer, her crimson eyes glowing softly. "Perhaps I will not end you when my hunger grows stronger. Perhaps you will remain at my side." Rallan looked away, focusing on the controls. "I am not your servant." Her smile returned, faint but sharp. "Not servant. Companion. That is what I said before. You will walk with me as long as I choose." The ship continued through the void, the silence heavy between them. Rallan's mind worked quietly, always searching for a way to warn others, always looking for a chance to resist. But for now, he played his part. Days later, another star fell to her hunger. This one brighter, its death more violent. Waves of energy rippled across systems, drawing attention from fleets near the border. Rallan's console blinked with alerts, patrols moving to investigate, scouts reporting strange shadows. Saraxa rose from her seat, her voice calm but filled with pride. "The galaxy stirs," she said. "They feel my presence. Soon they will remember the name Saraxa. Soon they will kneel." Rallan said nothing. He tightened his grip on the controls and stared into the endless dark. He knew the galaxy would not kneel easily. And he knew the storm she was calling would soon break. The ship drifted silently through the dark stretch of space, its old engines steady against the endless void. Rallan sat at the controls, his eyes on the navigation screen, but his thoughts were far away. Each day he traveled with Saraxa felt heavier, as if he carried a burden larger than the ship itself. He had seen her drain suns, leaving systems in silence, and each time the truth struck deeper. He had freed a queen of destruction. Saraxa sat across from him, her crimson eyes glowing softly in the dim light. She watched him without speaking, as though studying every flicker of his thoughts. Her presence filled the ship like a second atmosphere, heavy and impossible to ignore. At last, she broke the silence. "You are restless," she said. Rallan kept his voice calm. "I am thinking." "Of what?" she asked. "Of what you plan to do," he replied. "You speak of ruling again, of bending the galaxy to your will. But the galaxy is not the same. If you rise as you did before, fleets will gather, and wars will begin. I have seen enough wars. They leave nothing but ruin. For a moment, Siraxa's expression changed. The sharp pride in her eyes dimmed, replaced by something older, heavier. She leaned back in her seat, folding her wings close, and spoke in a voice touched with memory. "You speak as one who has seen only the surface of war," she said. "But I was born from it. My kind thrived in the storms of conflict. We were rulers, but also soldiers. My empire was not built in peace. It was carved from fire and betrayal." Her gaze drifted past him, toward the stars outside the window. "I remember the day my generals turned on me. They were bound to me by oath and blood, yet their fear outweighed their loyalty. They gathered fleets, entire worlds, and struck together. The sky burned for weeks. My cities fell, one after another. My armies fought until their bones turned to dust." Her voice lowered, filled with a cold edge. "And when the last battle came, they did not defeat me with strength. They lured me with trust. My closest general, one I raised from nothing, led me into the heart of their trap. Chains of stone and shadow bound me. My wings folded, my empire crumbled, and I was cast into the prison you found." Rallan listened quietly, the weight of her story pressing on him. He had expected arrogance, but instead her words carried a wound deeper than pride. She was a queen, yes, but also a ruler betrayed. "Why did they fear you?" Rallan asked. Her eyes returned to him, glowing brighter again. "Because I was eternal," she said. "Because I drank the light of suns, and they saw no end to my reign. They called me destroyer, but they ignored the truth. I gave order to chaos. Worlds bent to my rule, but they thrived under it. Trade, unity, protection, these came from me. But they saw only their chains, not the safety they carried. And so they chose betrayal." Rallan did not answer at once. He thought of human history, of leaders who had promised safety but demanded obedience, of empires that rose and fell. Siraxa's story was not unlike them, only on a scale far greater. After a long pause, he asked, "And now? What do you want from this new age?" Her lips curved faintly, though it was not a warm smile. "I want what was stolen. I want my throne, my empire, my vengeance. The stars will bow again." Rallan tightened his grip on the controls. He knew then that no reasoning would turn her from this path. She was shaped by betrayal and hunger, and her vision of rule was unshakable. Yet he also saw the wound behind her pride, and that knowledge gave him a small weapon: understanding. While she spoke of her past, Rallan's console blinked quietly. Hidden beneath normal transmissions, his coded signals pulsed out into space. Short bursts, disguised as static. Each one carried a simple message: she is real. She is awake. She feeds on stars. He did not know if anyone received them, but he sent them anyway. It was the only way he could fight her, piece by piece, without her knowing. Days passed as they traveled between systems. Siraxa fed again, draining another fading star. Each time she grew stronger, her wings darker, her presence heavier. Yet between her hunger, she continued to speak of the past. She told him of great battles fought above shattered moons, of fleets that once knelt before her, of the crown forged from the heart of a dead sun. She spoke of her palace, built from crystal and shadow, where rulers of other species once came to swear loyalty. Sometimes her voice softened, almost wistful. "There was a time when music filled my halls," she said once. "When my people sang to the stars. Not all who served me were slaves. Some gave loyalty freely, for they believed in me. That memory remains. Rallan listened, though his heart stayed guarded. He began to understand her not only as a destroyer, but as a being who had once inspired loyalty, who had once ruled with vision as well as hunger. Yet he also knew that the same pride, the same hunger, would burn entire worlds if left unchecked. One night, as they drifted through a quiet sector, Siraxa turned to him suddenly. "You send signals," she said. Rallan's chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She tilted her head, her eyes sharp. "I feel the flicker of energy from your console. Small, hidden, but there. Do you call others to me?" Rallan forced his voice steady. "I send reports. It is my duty as a soldier. I tell them what I see." Her gaze lingered on him, crimson light burning brighter. For a moment, he thought she would strike him down. But then, to his surprise, she leaned back slowly. "Good," she said. "Let them come. Let them gather. The more that stand against me, the greater the glory when I break them." Rallan's breath eased quietly, though his hands stayed tense on the controls. She had seen through him, but twisted it into her pride. That gave him more time, though not much. The galaxy was already stirring. Fleets moved, scouts whispered, rumors spread. He had heard messages on hidden channels, a shadow that drank suns, a queen with wings of night. The story of Siraxa was being told again, just as she wanted. As the ship moved deeper into unknown space, Rallan looked at her and realized the truth. She would not stop. Her hunger, her pride, her vengeance, they would drive her forward until the galaxy itself burned. The reports reached every corner of the galaxy. Pilots whispered in docking bays, fleet commanders held emergency meetings, and governments across star systems sent urgent signals. Something was awakening in the outer rim, something that could not be ignored. Rallan's ship drifted through empty space, carrying Siraxa across sectors she had never seen. His console blinked with more alerts than he could manage. Entire fleets had begun mobilizing. Humans, aliens, and even remnants of old empires were joining forces. The whispers called her the Shadow Queen, the starborn vampire, the being who drank the light of suns. Rallan looked at Siraxa. She sat calmly in the pilot's chair beside him, wings folded but edges still brushing the walls. Her crimson eyes glowed faintly as she studied the stars. "They move," she said, her voice calm. "They prepare. It will be fun to see what has become of this age." "They move because of you," Rallan said carefully. "They fear what you are. They know what happens when you feed. They will not wait. Fleets are forming now. Entire alliances are gathering to stop you." Siraxa smiled faintly. "Let them come. They will discover the strength of a queen freed from stone." Rallan's hands tightened on the controls. "You cannot underestimate them. Some of these fleets have weapons that can destroy planets. Some have ancient technology older than your prison. You are strong, yes, but not invincible. If you attack blindly, billions will die." Her gaze met his, sharp and calculating. "And if I wait, what then? They will grow strong, learn to resist me, and perhaps forget the fear that once ruled the stars. No, I will act. I will not wait for them to come to me." Rallan exhaled slowly. He realized his role had changed. He was no longer just a guide. He had become a strategist, a negotiator, a barrier between the Queen and complete destruction. Every move he made now could save worlds. Every mistake could doom billions. Across space, fleets began to gather in strategic positions. Human armadas moved in formation, patrolling sectors near the outer rim. Alien ships joined silently, bringing their own weapons and knowledge. Some war machines, relics of past conflicts, were reactivated and sent to patrol empty space. Entire alliances that had once fought each other now stood together, united by fear. Meanwhile, Saraxa studied the incoming signals. "They prepare fleets," she said, tracing the glowing points across the holographic map. "They think they can oppose me." Rallan nodded. "They are strong, yes. But they are unprepared for what you can do." She laughed softly, a sound that carried both beauty and menace. "Good. Let them be unprepared. They will learn quickly. I enjoy watching fear awaken in those who think they are safe." Rallan did not respond. He continued to plot a path through the stars, guiding her carefully toward dying systems. He hoped that by feeding only on stars without life, he could slow the encounter, giving fleets time to organize and strategize. Days passed as they moved through the void. Saraxa fed on energy streams, drawing power from dying suns and weak stars. Each time she consumed, she grew stronger, her wings darker, her presence heavier. Yet between feeding, she spoke of tactics, of battles, and of old empires. "You understand war," she said to Rallan one evening. "You are careful, deliberate. You think not just of survival, but of strategy. That is good. Perhaps you will serve me well in the coming battles." "I serve only to survive," Rallan replied. "And to protect lives where I can." Her crimson eyes studied him, almost approvingly. A human with courage and cunning. Rare. Perhaps useful. Perhaps expendable. Rallan swallowed. He knew she could destroy him in an instant, but he also understood that his knowledge of current fleets made him valuable to her. That thought gave him leverage, however small. As the fleets approached her last feeding system, scouts reported unusual energy readings. Entire solar systems were darkened, their suns drained. Fleets slowed, confused, and cautious. Commanders argued over what course to take. Some wanted to strike immediately. Others advocated waiting for more information. Rallan guided Saraxa quietly, careful to remain between her and the fleet's sensors. "They are coming," he said. She smiled, wings stretching slightly. "Good. They will meet me sooner than they think. And when they do, the galaxy will remember me." The first signs of conflict appeared in the void. Scout ships were destroyed almost instantly when they ventured too close to her. Energy beams cut through empty space, leaving blackened voids where sensors had once measured light. Messages from destroyed vessels flickered across communications channels, warnings that spread fear faster than any official reports. Rallan's hands moved constantly, calculating every movement. He guided her, delaying attacks when necessary, redirecting her hunger toward uninhabited stars. He sent coded messages through the ship's transmissions, hoping they reached Allied commanders without her detecting the signals. One night, as they drifted near the edge of a cluster of old colonies, Saraxa leaned toward him. "I feel them closing in," she said. "Yes," Rallan replied. "Fleets are forming. Commanders are sending orders. They will try to contain you, to strike first." "Let them try," she whispered. Her wings stretched again, brushing the walls of the cockpit. "It will be a glorious dance." Rallan shivered. The dance would not be glorious for him or for the billions of lives at stake. Yet he could not refuse her. He had freed her. He had bargained for survival. And now he was trapped in a path that could destroy entire systems if he faltered. The first true confrontation began when a human fleet, accompanied by several alien warships, moved within sensor range. They were cautious, testing the void, sending smaller ships ahead. Energy beams and warning signals traced across space. Yet Siraxa did not move at first. She waited, letting the fleets believe they had time to react. Rallan guided the ship carefully, keeping her presence hidden until the right moment. "They do not understand," he said. "If you attack now, you risk revealing yourself fully. They will strike back with everything they have." Siraxa tilted her head. "Do you seek to delay their fear?" "Yes," Rallan said firmly. "If you strike without planning, you will face losses you may regret." Her eyes glowed brighter. "Very well, soldier. You will guide me. For now." The fleets continued to gather, sensing the growing shadow of the Queen. The galaxy, once fractured, now prepared as one. Commanders who had never trusted each other now worked in secret coordination. Ancient fleets, relics of wars long past, were activated. Strategy grids buzzed with calculations, trying to predict her next move. Rallan watched silently, knowing each decision he made could save or doom billions. Siraxa fed quietly in the shadows, growing stronger with each passing day. The galaxy was moving, preparing for a battle unlike any other, and he was at the center of it, guiding the Queen he had accidentally unleashed. The fleets formed a vast barrier across the outer rim of the sector. Human, alien, and old Empire vessels aligned their weapons, energy shields glowing faintly in the darkness of space. Commanders issued orders through tangled communication channels, every sensor tuned to the slightest disturbance. They had heard of her, the Shadow Queen, the Starborn Vampire, and now they prepared to meet her. Inside the cockpit of his old ship, Rallan guided Siraxa with careful hands. He felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. Every decision he made could change the course of billions of lives. Yet beside him, Siraxa remained calm, wings folded but tense, crimson eyes fixed on the stars ahead. "They are ready," Rallan said quietly. "Every fleet within this sector is here. They know your power, and they will fight with everything they have." Siraxa smiled faintly. "Good," she replied. "Let them bring their weapons. Let them test me. They will learn what the stars once feared." Rallan's hand hovered over the control panel. He could not predict everything, but he had a plan. He would guide her to weak points, steer her toward empty systems first, and try to prevent unnecessary loss of life. But the final confrontation was inevitable. As they approached the first fleet line, scout ships detected them. Red alerts flashed across consoles. The fleets held fire, waiting for confirmation of threat. Rallan knew that any sudden move could trigger a war across the sector. "Do you intend to attack now?" he asked Siraxa carefully. She studied him, her expression unreadable. "I will not strike the innocent," she said. "I will feed where none are lost. But if they challenge me directly, I will respond." Rallan nodded. The Queen's restraint gave him hope. He had bargained for survival, and now he had leverage. He steered the ship through narrow passages between asteroid fields, hiding her presence while giving fleets a chance to prepare for minimal risk. The first confrontation began when a small group of alien cruisers attempted to block their path. Energy beams cut through the void, striking asteroids and sending debris into drifting arcs. Rallan guided Siraxa carefully, keeping her hidden while assessing the enemy's tactics. With a subtle gesture, she extended her wings, shadows flowing outward. Energy rippled across space, bending light and throwing the attacking cruisers into confusion. Their targeting systems failed. Rallan watched, astonished and fearful. The Queen's presence alone disrupted entire fleets. One by one, the cruisers were forced to retreat, unable to maintain focus. Siraxa did not destroy them. She did not need to. Her reputation alone had won. Rallan breathed slowly. You could destroy them completely, he said. Yes, Siraxa replied. But I will not. Not yet. There is no glory in killing the small before the strong arrive. Patience, soldier. Everything comes at the right moment. As the fleets regrouped, Rallan transmitted coded signals to command. He warned them of her strength, of the danger, and suggested tactics to contain her without provoking total destruction. His hidden messages reached some allied commanders, who adjusted formations and held back their most powerful weapons, waiting to see how she would move. Siraxa leaned closer to him. You are clever, she said. You understand strategy, timing, and restraint. Few of my kind think in such ways. Perhaps that is why I keep you at my side. I keep you alive, Rallan replied. Because otherwise, billions will die. Her crimson eyes softened slightly. Then we are bound together, soldier. You live because I allow it. We survive because of your skill. The larger fleets finally moved forward, heavy warships with weapons capable of destroying moons. Sensors flared, energy shields activated, and command orders echoed through space. Every ship in formation focused on detecting the Queen. Rallan guided them through narrow asteroid belts, past dying suns, and around weak stars. Siraxa fed once more, drawing energy only from uninhabited sources, growing stronger with each pulse. The fleets hesitated, unsure whether to strike immediately or wait for a signal. Finally, a flagship broke formation, sending an attack squadron directly toward them. Rallan calculated carefully. If the Queen struck first, destruction would be unavoidable. But if they could delay, perhaps they could survive the encounter. Prepare, Rallan said quietly. They will come for us now. Siraxa extended her wings fully. Shadows flowed through the void, twisting light and energy. The first volley of beams struck the darkness where she stood, only to be deflected or absorbed. Entire squadrons found their weapons failing, their energy systems disrupted. Rallan watched, guiding the ship carefully, ensuring that no stray fire endangered nearby systems. Then came the choice. Rallan realized that to survive, he had to act decisively. He could guide her toward a cluster of stars that could give her immense power, but it would also risk lives if miscalculated. Or he could lead her toward an isolated field, feeding her strength but keeping the galaxy mostly safe. He made his decision. We take the isolated cluster, he said. It will satisfy your hunger without risking fleets or worlds. Trust me. Siraxa regarded him silently, crimson eyes studying his expression. Then she nodded. Very well, soldier. I will trust you. For now. The ship moved swiftly, weaving through asteroid fields and debris from destroyed planets. Siraxa fed once more, energy streams flowing from dying suns into her body. Her strength surged, her wings spread wide, and shadows extended like a living cloak across the void. The fleets watched, unsure how to respond. Red alerts flashed, commanders shouted orders, but the Queen remained untouchable, yet restrained. Rallan breathed a quiet sigh of relief. For now, lives were spared. The galaxy had survived the first confrontation. Siraxa turned to him, eyes glowing brighter than ever. You made a choice, she said. You guided me wisely. I see your courage, your skill, and your will. Few could do what you have done. Rallan nodded quietly. I made a choice to save lives. That is all. She smiled faintly, wings folding slowly. Perhaps there is more to you, Rallan. You may live, but the galaxy will remember you not only for your weakness, but for your courage. You chose life and restraint when chaos awaited. Rallan exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the moment lift slightly. The battle had begun, the Queen had tasted power, and yet the galaxy survived. For now. As the ship moved away from the isolated cluster, stars stretched endlessly ahead, and Rallan realized the truth. The war was only beginning. Siraxa was powerful beyond imagining, boundless in hunger and pride. Yet with careful guidance, restraint, and courage, perhaps the galaxy could endure. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to hope. He had survived the awakening of a queen, guided her through the first confrontation, and saved countless lives. And though the future remained uncertain, one truth was clear: the stars had changed forever, and humanity would play a role in shaping that change. Siraxa leaned back, wings relaxed but still immense, watching the endless void. The galaxy will remember me, she whispered.